On behalf of Pur-Logic Solutions, I would like to welcome everyone who was able to join us for today's webinar on accessing government funding for your business. A big welcome to Jacqueline from Sovereign Consulting. And just a quick note that we are recording today's webinar, and we will send a copy to you in a follow-up email after the event. And we will also be posting it on our YouTube channel and on our website. Following Jacqueline's presentation, we will make some time for some Q&A, so feel free to enter any questions in the chat box at the bottom of your screen. I'll send it over now to Jacqueline.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you so much. And thanks to the Pur-Logic team for inviting me here today. I'm very excited to share some options for funding for your ERP implementation and or you're upgrading your ERP system. So I'm going to start sharing my screen now and tell you a little bit about us and who we are and how we work and the options available to you. Again, welcome. My name is Jacqueline Steele. I'm the business developer for Sovereign Consulting. Our mandate is to access government programs, tax credit, grants, and rebates. And we work with a lot of companies across Canada to help access funding. It's been a very difficult 2 years, and so our work has become more meaningful in trying to help companies to stay afloat and to survive the climate that we've had for the last 2 years. So I'm going to start a little bit telling you about us and our agenda. We'll start with our agenda first, and then I'll get into a little bit about us. Funding options, we'll look at a few funding options for you and see what we can do to help and what's available to you. Case studies, I like to incorporate case studies so you can see how the real life application of funding programs have been. We will look at how we work again, and we'll look at upcoming programs that are available for you so you can keep a lookout and keep yourself abreast to any new programs that are in the horizon. Okay, so as I said earlier, we look at government programs that are non-refundable grants, tax credits, and rebates. There are a lot of funding available out there across Canada, and we look at fundings in the area where the government focuses on. So the government right now, and has always been, very focused on funding related to training, related to new hires, related to export activity and manufacturing. The manufacturing industry is heavily supported by government funding. And as well, there will be something out there for retail service, but the bulk of funding always tends to go towards manufacturing. But we'll see what's out there for everybody, and we'll look at it one at a time. So apprenticeship credits has been a huge product for us. We looked at apprenticeship credits with our clients in the piping and the welding industry across Canada, electrical industry as well in Manitoba, BC, Alberta, and Ontario have been the big provinces that we've worked with a lot of apprentices. Media credits are very big in Ontario as well, and BC. And that's whether it be digital media credits, developing books, developing films. So that's another area that we've helped companies recoup money spent. Fuel rebates as well. So some companies that we have dump trucks or have construction vehicles that where the fuel is used for other than just to propel the vehicle. And in that case, there are rebates that are available to companies to recoup the fuel costs. And, given what fuel costs are right now, you can only imagine the opportunities that you can have to recoup that. It's just the gas prices are really getting exorbitant and becoming a big cost for companies. So where we can recoup monies back for them, we certainly do try. The COVID relief grants and funds and rebates in the area of rent rebates or wage subsidies has been heavily used since we entered this pandemic. And so we have helped a lot of our companies, or our clients, I should say, recoup monies in the area of rent or wage subsidies and different activities. Some industries hit more than others, particularly in the food industry or the restaurant industries. And so we've helped them to recoup monies where possible. Duty rebates we've helped clients with. So we've had clients, for example, that have imported, exported PPE and paid duties on it. And that's not necessarily the case. The government has implemented different legislation to help reduce costs for companies that are experiencing duty costs on importing items for PEE or COVID-related items. Hiring grants are a huge part of our services that we offer. I've always said to our clients that if you are hiring anybody, part-time, full-time, summer subsidies, summer workers, you really want to look at getting your funds, your cost of hiring someone subsidized. It's very a lot of time goes into bringing on and onboarding new employees. And so if there's always that risk from an employer's point of view that they may or may not be there in 3 or 6 months down the line. So if you can reduce the cost and your time, I always highly suggest that our clients do that. Retrofit and energy rebates are also a product that we offer, or we've accessed for our clients with any construction companies that are building, or any implementation for equipment being put into new equipment to replace old. You want to look at rebates. Training funds is where we're going to spend most of our time today. We're going to be looking at different training options available for ERP implementations or even upgrades. So if we're having a lot of employee turnovers, as I mentioned in the hiring grants as well, is if you're having a lot of employee turnovers, you have to train your employees from time to time. And you want to consider funding available for that, because your new employees coming on are very valuable, and you want to keep your people there, and you want them to be trained on your ERP system so that they can fulfill their responsibilities with your company to the best of their ability. Exporting grants is also one of the services that we offer for any companies that are doing trade shows or need help with a strategic marketing plan to enter into new markets. There's funding available for that. And last but not least, QuickBooks. We do bookkeeping services for our clients, everything up to trial balance. If you're looking for help with that, we can help you as well. So having said that, I'll move to my next slide. I'm going to discuss the first option for training, the job grant. So the Canada Job Grant is across Canada. It's not with every province, but this would be my first choice with any ERP implementation. However, this program has changed immensely since it first came out. So this program came out in 2014. And when it came out, we had the ability to help our clients get funding for software and training. So a company that was doing a new ERP implementation, like a Sage 300, was getting 50 to 83% of the costs of that software and the training to implement it. So that's when that came out in 2014. A lot of clients took advantage of that. Unfortunately, the program has evolved quite a bit, and now software is no longer covered, but training is, and not even just training for an initial implementation. This program works best when you have when you've had an ERP system that's been installed and you want to do an upgrade. So let's say, you're at Sage 50 and you want to go to a Sage 300, or you want to switch to an Intact, or whatever changes you're making, this program would work very well. It's a good easy access program. Takes you about a few weeks to complete an application, and is not too painful. It's, if you read the guideline on this too, it says that it's $10,000 per employee. This is very discretionary depending on the service provider. And now they've tend to cap it, I should say, at $2,500 per employee. A good program offered in various provinces. I highly recommend this one. So I'm going to go into discussing or showing a little bit of a case study with a client that we use. So we had a pharmaceutical company actually who had 3 divisions. One division manufactured the pharmaceutical products, another distributed them, some imported. So they had 3 different parts. And so what we did is we worked with one of the divisions for their upgrade. They went to a Sage 300. And so we helped them to get funding for the upgrade. They just wanted to, like I said before, they just wanted to train a few employees. And so we were able to recoup $16,000 of the funding that they had. So it was a small out-of-pocket cost for them, but a very, like I said before, very good program if you're looking for upgrades. Highly recommend. My second my second option would be, I consider, is the AIM. So AIM is an acronym that stands for Achieving Innovation and Manufacturing Excellence. And this program is funded through Yves Laundry Foundation. The funding for this program, unlike the job grant that I described earlier, the funding for this program is, it sometimes dries out by about the end of the year. So when funds are available for this program, I always recommend that clients take advantage of it, because it's not going to last for long. And it is a heavily utilized program in Ontario. There's 2 components to the AIM program, Northern and Southern Ontario, with a little bit of differences in terms of eligibility. So for the Southern Ontario, your company can be as large as 1,000 employees, but for Northern, they cap it at 500 employees. It's geared towards the manufacturing industry. So if you're a service industry or retail, this program will not be available to you strictly for manufacturing. It came out in the 1998. It was, as I said before, founded by Eve's Laundry. And it's a program that's geared towards developing a relationship between the manufacturing industry and having skills in industry. So it's funded, it's a federally funded program, but again, trying to marriage the relationship between industry and developing skilled labor in Ontario is the mandate. They have two objectives of this program. One is it's to support training for new technologies and processes and procedures, which is, it's really, a SAGE implementation or ERP system would work beautifully for this program, because that's exactly what the purpose of you, if you're going to implement a SAGE 300 and never had one before, this is a program for you exactly. And as well as its also objective is to support highly skilled personnel. So as I said before, the mandate of the Eve's Laundry Foundation is to have industry support upcoming skills in Ontario. So I think those are the key points with this program as well. First-time applications, it's a 50-50 split, up to $100,000. And I just want to talk a little bit about eligible expenditures. So by 50-50, I'm referring to 50-50 of labor costs as well as training costs. So the beauty about this program, if you're a large company, 50%, and you're paying your employees significantly, 50% of the labor costs might even cover the cost of the ERP software, depending on how many people that you are training. So, and they've as well opened up this application for second-time applicants, which is new. They never used to do that before. You used just to have one time and that was it. But they're allowing second-time applicants with the 25-75% cost sharing. So that's my coverage for AIM. I'm going to go to talk a little, I want to discuss with you a little bit about a case study that we had. So I had a CNC manufacturing company that we worked with in Guelph, and they had a SAGE 50 and went to 300. And initially this client, actually, we did a application for them for the job grant way back when the job grant was allowing you to cover software. And so when they had their initial installation with the SAGE 50, job grant covered 80% of their software, 80% of their training. A few years went by, he came back and said he wanted to upgrade and he wanted to train his additional employees. So we said, okay. And at that point, the job grant had evolved such that they weren't going to do what this program could have done. So we were able to get 50% of the training for his employees, as well as 50% of the cost of the training. I could have ran it back through the job grant, but this program, because of what he paid his employees, we got him a higher amount through this program, $44,000. So that worked out better. And sometimes you have to weigh the pros and cons. You have to look at, you may have the access to two different programs for an application, but you have to crunch out the numbers to find out whether or not it's worthwhile to do one versus the other. And sometimes time sensitivity is an issue. So when I said earlier, the AIM program, the money's not available all year round. So sometimes you're looking at an AIM application and you're saying, well, they've run out of money, or they certainly don't have enough to cover this type of value of $40,000. So you might have to, go through another application. So you have to look at all the factors when you're looking at grant applications. You want to look at, the most cost-effective way to get, I guess, the more bang for your buck. I guess I can put it that way. Okay, so I'm going to go to our third option, FedDev. So the FedDev applications or FedDev program has been around actually late 80s. And so we're looking at economic development agencies all across Canada that have a responsibility to support industry. And there are 7 economic regional development agencies. We have Atlantic Canada, we have Canada Economics Development Agencies, or CED. We have FedDev Ontario, FedDev North, Can North, Canadian Northern Economic Development Agencies. We have Pacific, which is Pacific Can, and we have the Prairies, which is Prairies Can. All these are economic development agencies all across Canada with a mandate to support businesses where they can. They look at different companies, and First Nations get a little bit of more support than private sector or nonprofit organizations, but nonprofit organizations as well do very well, up to 90% for non-repayable. This is a really good program, and what we're going to talk about with FedDev today is just a jobs and growth fund. So FedDev for Southern Ontario, we're gonna stay in that region for today's discussion, has 4 categories: Jobs and Growth Fund, Tourism Relief Fund, the Aerospace Regional Recovery Fund, and Canada Community Revitalization Fund. Now, funds. For today, we're going to talk about jobs and growth funds only. Could you do an ERP system under maybe the aerospace? Possibly, if you are in that industry. But FedDev in these 4 categories, you have to pick a category that's the strongest, given your industry, given the size of your company, and given what you're using the funding for and where it's going to project your company. So Jobs and Growth Fund is the one I would recommend for an ERP system implementation. And then once you go to the Jobs and Growth Fund, it breaks down again into 4 different categories under the Jobs and Growth Fund. One is green economy. The other one is fostering an inclusive recovery. The 3rd category is what strengthens capacities in specific sectors, for example, the food or medical supply sector. And the 4th category is to preserve Canadians' competitiveness in future small SMEs and in digital adaptation. And this is the category which I think best suits an ERP implementation. So we're looking for, supporting the development and adaptation of digital and tech solutions. And that's exactly what an ERP system will do for any company. The eligible costs under the FedDev and under those categories that are described would be labor specific to the project. So I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but I will say that if you're looking in the grant world, looking for funding, you want to look at funding or look for funding in things that you don't do with your day-to-day activity. So if all the government funding that we're looking for is something that propels your company further than you were before, like even a new hire, you're hiring somebody, it's not somebody that's already working in your organizations, it's a new hire. And in this case, if you're looking for under FedDev umbrella, the labor you can pay for is person that's specific to that project. So somebody that helps to train on that project, or an expert with a technical skill to help implement the ERP system. Construction and leasehold improvements are also eligible, but it has to be in the vein of this project. So in equipment purchases, installation, including software and machinery is as well eligible under this Jobs and Growth Fund. So this is a good program to look at for our clients, and I'd highly recommend it. It's a 0 interest free loan up to 50% anyways. And if you are a nonprofit, it's a little bit more. So I'll use our case study right now. So we're actually looking at a nonprofit organization for this fund, and the cost for their Sage Intact is $47,000. So we're looking to get 90% of this funding covered and non-repayable. So I'll keep you guys posted. My 4th option is the Canada Agricultural Partnership, or CAP as we like to call it. Technology and equipment to improve labor productivity. Now, this program we used for our food. We had actually a distiller, and I'll talk a little bit more about the case study afterwards. But this program, the eligible cost for this is new equipment, software, if you're modifying any equipment for technology, or third-party advisory costs. If you have somebody coming in to train for third-party, it's as well claimable underneath this program. It's a little bit more of an elaborate program. So if I was to compare this program to, for example, a COJG program, or a job grant program, I'll just be specific to not any particular province. So if I was to compare this program to a job grant program, or if I was to compare it, for example, to AIM, this program I think is more, it's more elaborate. You're not getting as much money. You're only getting 35%, up to a 35% cost sharing. So it's not like a 50% with AIMS or a potential 80% with job grant. This is why it's the 4th on my option, because it doesn't give as much bang for the buck. And the work required for it is a little bit more labor intensive. You have to develop as well a labor productivity plan for this application. which it covers the risk. It covers your anticipated result after implementing this technology or new equipment. It's a very in-depth, almost business plan as to where you're going to be versus where you are prior to this technology implementation. So it is fourth on my list for a reason, but it is a possibility as well, and it is 35% of 100,000. As well, I want to as well mention with the CAP programs, they're not around all the time. So a CAP program appears about once or twice a year, and you have about 30 days to be able to do your application. So you do have to jump on them fast. They are as well, they're only the food industry. So it is a very industry specific software. There is well software program, excuse me. And there's other programs for not only food producers, but food farmers as well, but all within the food industry and agricultural industry, as the name indicates. So I'll go to my, here we go. We did a CAP application for a vodka manufacturer. So they were a distillery company. They were doing some equipment and software implementation, and we got them, again, it's only 35%, but it was something to help with their costs. So their total costs were just shy of 100,000, and this is where we're able to get them. I find with this program too, once you're approved and you've expended, the monies doesn't come to you all at once. It comes in increments. So it's like 3 different claims that had to be done for this application. So as well as it's additional work on the front end, I do find the back end of this application a little bit more heavy than a job grant or an AIM program. So programs to watch out for. The Digital Adaptation Fund is coming out. It's with Industry Canada. It should be out. I was told it would have been out by the end of winter, but it hasn't come out yet. The Canada Agriculture programs, as I said, they pop up every so often, probably about twice a year. So if you're in that industry, you do want to either get on their mailing list or subscribe and be on board with that, so you're ready when they do start. And probably you want to take a look at a previous application, see what's been done to prepare yourself, because you don't have a lot of time when they roll out. Excuse me. The Digital Adaptation Program has 2 streams as well. One stream is a smaller, you're just starting on your website, it's $2,400. The other stream, I think, is $10,000 or $15,000. And these are grants. So none of the monies that I'm speaking of in these watch lists are to be repaid. The only program that is repayable based on what we discussed today would be the FedDev. Okay. Just a little bit about how we work. So initially we do a corporate assessments, and that is our time to meet with you and to figure out what your needs are, whether it be long or short term. And then we'll determine what programs are best suitable for you after reviewing government funds that are available, depending on your timeline. We process applications and we do the work from beginning to end. Our clients are only involved with us for the initial stage, and then we stay with the application until funds are received in hand. We stay with our application. We do follow up with our clients and other service providers to make sure that everything is moving along smoothly. If anything's missing, it's our responsibility to get it into the service provider on our client's behalf. Okay. Just a quick peek at some of the clients that we have helped over the years. This is just a small snippet. And I believe that is it for me today. Angela? And everyone, thank you so much for coming out. I hope that this has been helpful to you. I do encourage people, don't be discouraged. These things, sometimes they're not easy, but if you're doing any activity that's not part of your day-to-day activity, I strongly suggest that you look at government funding to help subsidize when and where necessary. So I think that's it for me today. Thank you so much. Angela, are there any questions or?
Jacqueline, yes, there actually is one question in our chat. It has to do with AIM, and the question is, how long is the application process?
Okay, thank you, Angela. So in the case of AIM, I always say that with any application, sometimes it depends on the client. So the quicker we get information, the quicker we can get our application done. But if I can say from submission to approval, an AIM application will probably take you no more than 60 days for approval from submission. I hope that helps.
Okay, thank you so much. And that seems like that was the only question. So a big thank you to Jacqueline and to everyone for attending today. Please feel free to reach out to us with any questions, and we can definitely put you in direct contact with Jacqueline. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Angela.